You've seen the Santa Claus like a dozen times, right? Wrong! You've seen most of it, but did you spot the elf at the soccer game? Or the Mickey Mouse that's in the moon? And did you know that Tim Allen wasn't even supposed to be Santa? Your favorite childhood Christmas movie is hiding way more than a Santa Claus. So let's unwrap the Santa Claus together, because here's everything you missed. You probably know Tim Allen as the voice of Buzz Lightyear.
And there seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
But even though he did stand-up comedy and a few other things, his real first big break was when he was the star of his own show, Home Improvement. Now, Tim Taylor is the character that Tim Allen plays in Home Improvement, and Tim Taylor was always very badly telling us safety tips around the house.
Luckily, I was able to find that fire extinguisher. Who would have thought that chrome cleaner was that flammable?
I guess whoever put the warning on the label, Tim.
So this fire extinguisher scene over here is clearly a shout out to his show within the show, Tool Time.
That is exactly why you want a high-quality fire extinguisher right in the kitchen.
And he almost shot Santa, like with a gun.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
The original script for the movie was to shoot Santa off the roof like an intruder. But then Disney had to Disney-fy it, and that's why he just tripped instead.
Well, the original script actually was written by two comedians, and I shot Santa in the original script. I was crying. I was laughing so hard.
When he's up here on somebody's roof, he says,
But most of all, I hope the guy that lives here is a tailor.
he's not just referring to the clothing tailor, he's shouting out his even more famous role as Tim Taylor. He even tries on a tool belt when he's at the North Pole. He also has a tendency of making grunting noises quite frequently, like this.
My wife says when I put this bad boy on, I turn into a wild, hairy, disgusting ape.
And when Santa's finally getting the hang of being Santa, we hear him do that grunt.
We're done, Comet.
Elf Judy played a big part in the movie, keeping Santa on track, and she was played by the famous Paige Tamata.
Nothing. What's the matter with you?
And she snagged herself a spot on Home Improvement right here. But she's not the only one who visited both worlds. Over here we have Jimmy LaBroila, who was also in Home Improvement. Home Improvement wasn't the only Easter egg we talk about here. Did you catch them play a shout out to Home Alone? Kevin! The Santa Claus came out in 1994, but just 2 years earlier, Kevin was left home alone for the second time. And if you remember, he accidentally went to New York City while his family went to Florida. Well, if you look on the chalkboard over here, when the police are planning to catch Santa, the chalkboard actually says, neighbors are in Florida. Huh. Ha! If you look in Santa's bedroom on the puppet stage, you will see a perfectly placed hidden Mickey. And if you've ever been to Disneyland or Disney World, you know these are hidden Mickeys. And if you have the DVD or Blu-ray of the Santa Claus and watch the bonus features, you will see the Santa's Workshop is secretly making Mickey dolls appear in the background. You see it? When Scott is checking his weight for a brief moment, it stops exactly at 192 pounds. Now this is an Easter egg to a Christmas song.
Kids from 1 to 92.
And obviously we're living way past 92 now, and that's why the scale started going again. Tim had to wear fat suits for his movie, and it was filmed in the middle of summertime, so he really felt the weight. Another problem with filming in the summertime is you usually don't get any snow. That's why they had to fake the snow. And if you watch when the cop slides behind the bush, you can tell that he actually landed on a blanket that looks like snow. And even look at the original Santa. He's sliding on snow blankets. He also has this guy on his wall surrounded by penguins. This is an Easter egg to the book Mr. Popper's Penguins. There's a lot of Easter eggs to Tim Allen's career, but there are also Easter eggs to his real life. Tim is from Michigan, and he went to Western Michigan University. And he graduated in television production, and this is the seal of the state. And if you look at his ugly sweater, you will see it's more than an ugly sweater, it's actually the seal of the state of Michigan. And when they're in their classroom, you can see on the chalkboard, on the list of jobs or careers, they also have TV production. Even though Tim Allen is famous, at the time he wasn't as famous as Bill Murray. But watch this though, John the director wanted Bill Murray as the first pick to play Scott Calvin. He was tied up with another movie, so he couldn't play Santa in this movie. Well, if you look over here in the prison scene, you will see that when Santa gets busted out of jail, there's another person that's still tied up in jail that very much resembles Bill Murray's character in the movie Scrooge, the very movie that he was working on at that time that made him unable to be Santa Claus. So Tim Allen got busted out of jail while the Scrooge was in jail. The elves also built Santa a flame-proof suit. But here's a fun fact for you that you may or may not already know. Did you know that professional mall Santas actually have to wear pee suits because kids are peeing on Santa like all the time? The Santa Claus was directed by John Pasquin, and we get to see a little Alfred Hitchcock moment. When we're at the police station looking for Santa suspects, this guy over here is actually John. Another classic that we see a subtle nod to in this movie is James Bond.
Santa, this is Quentin, head of research and development.
Quentin, good to meet you.
And if you notice, his name starts with a Q, and he knows how to fix all of Santa's gadgets. This is a play on the character Q in the James Bond world, who also knows how all the Bond gadgets work.
Morning, Q.
Morning, 007.
And they both have British accent.
Hello, Santa.
British accent! But the spiciest moment in the Santa Claus was so spicy it had to be deleted from the movie. If you have an old enough version of the movie, you're gonna see this scene.
Neil's mom's number in case.
1-800-SPANK-ME.
Yes, 1-800-SPANK-ME is a real phone number. And it's a hotline.
Liar! Liar!
Experienced callers, enter your credit card number at any time.
If you notice, Santa has all the famous reindeer, but he doesn't have the most famous one of all. And that's because Rudolph isn't owned by Disney and it's not in the public domain. And they didn't want restrictions as to how they could use Rudolph. But that didn't stop the show from giving a subtle little Easter egg to Rudolph. If you look at the password to the North Pole, it's 1239. No, that's not random. That's Rudolph.
I don't get it.
Rudolph was created back in December of 1939. You know, for a firefighter, this guy doesn't seem to know what he's talking about.
There is nothing more painful than third-degree burns.
Typically, third-degree burns are gonna damage the nerves, so the worst burn in the world, you're not even gonna feel it, at least in the moment. Here's the craziest part about the entire movie. He didn't become Santa purely by luck of the draw. The original Santa was quitting, and the elves carefully chose him. If you look closely, you'll see elves hiding in all the scenes, the crowds, the classrooms, everywhere. They're keeping tabs on the future Saint Nick, even before he put on the coat. When Charlie says his dad is Santa, all the kids are laughing except for the elf, because he knows it's not a joke.
My dad is Santa Claus.
Thank you to the members for supporting the show. You can click the join button to be a member as well. Get your name up in the credits, and here's another Christmas movie full of Easter eggs for you to find.